Hey all, welcome back to Mark McMorris Infinite Air. I'm Incendic, with me again is Blank Tester.
Hey kids, how's it going?
And Turo.
Hi.
And in this video we'll be going to Tier 2 of the Circuit mode. So you see that, once you've started a career, every time you boot up the game, it kind of drops you into free ride in the same place on the overall mountain. But, then it's easy enough to change things around. And we're going to be, swapping characters as well. The first pro we unlocked, Craig McMorris.
Is that his
Whoa.
relative brother?
That's his brother.
Yes.
Okay.
It's kind of funny to be like, okay, you have Mark at the start, but then you have to unlock his lesser-known brother.
I mean, I would appreciate that if I was the brother.
Yeah. Actually, a quick thing about Mark himself is that he is the first of these sort of pros that have a named video game after them that is younger than I am.
Oh.
Yeah, he was born like December of 1993, so by less than a year, but
still younger.
now
than
I
you,
feel
yeah.
old.
Now you
Okay.
feel old, yeah.
So now that we're getting into this, I want to talk about a few more things that really make or break this game. And the first is the multiplier aspect. You see in the upper right below my total points, this multiplier. And, so you start at ×1 and you get up to ×2, ×3. ×4 is the maximum. And you do those by, landing good tricks with good landings. Like if you get a clean or an okay, you'll get a pretty decent bonus to your progress for the next. If you get like a sloppy landing, I think you get no progress. If you get a butt check landing, it resets you back to the start of the multiplier you're currently on. In terms of progress. And so that makes it really, really, really important to try and get higher multipliers to actually get these scores that they want you to get. But the thing is, the progress you get is also based on how big your trick is. So, you could just do simple 360s and 180s, easier to land clean or whatever, but you really won't get much progress. That won't get you up to there. So you both have to be, smooth and get those good landings to get up to that multiplier, but also kind of huck it and do the big tricks to be able to get up there in time to then
make use of your multiplier.
Make use of it, because these runs still are going to be pretty short.
Yeah,
so
that's high risk, high reward in a nutshell.
So that's again something where this game kind of does both sides, and both sides cancel each other out, sort of.
Yeah.
It demands a lot of you.
It demands a lot of you from the get-go, just functionally in how the game works.
That's really weird.
And I also want to bring up that,
Style it on him.
a lot of these things I feel are, valid complaints and such, because a lot of people are not gonna, spend 1,000 hours with this game, but they can always be seen as subjective. Someone out there is a master of this game who could do every trick that they want, So I will say I have a very objective complaint about part of this game, and that is that, the game is very inconsistent when you go into off-axis stuff in what trick it will give you, what you will land, especially if you choose to use the right thumbstick at all to try and correct your guy's stance in the air. So you might do the same kind of animation and get maybe, I don't know, like a triple cork 1440 or a double rodeo 1620, again off the same animation, what looks like the same thing. And then if you try to use the right thumbstick at all, you'll start getting things where, just from an eye test, it's like, okay, I did a bunch of spins as well. And they'll be like, okay, double wildcat.
Oh,
there was one case where I did what, again,
awful.
eye test should be like a triple cork 1440 blah blah blah, and I used the right thumbstick to try and adjust my guy's landing so that I didn't wipe it out, and what popped up was literally just indie. It ate all of my rotations, all of my off-axis rotations.
Oh my god.
This game is nightmarish when it comes to that. It's
That's
bad.
Wild.
It's bad.
That is so wild.
Why does it? Yeah,
And
I
you
don't know.
you will You will probably have noticed it in the first part of this. You'll probably already have noticed it in this challenge alone.
While you were talking, I noticed one.
It will just keep happening. Whatever system they have to algorithmically decide what trick you did is not good.
It's not sufficient.
Point blank. It's bad.
One quick thing I want to show here. Here's a weird thing about half-pipe events. And this first half-pipe event really kind of messes you up by having one of the challenges be do at least 6 tricks in each heat, or whatever. And so, or 5 tricks. Because the less tricks you do, the more points each of your tricks can be worth. And so, honestly, the way to win half-pipe events or get a better score reliably is to only do like 3 or 4 tricks. And have each be out of 15 points and have a higher amount of points than to do like 6 tricks. Like, you could do 6 amazing clean tricks, but doing only like 3 or 4 amazing clean tricks will give you a higher score.
So it would be like, if you did 3 tricks, it would be like, it's something out of 20 maybe, instead of out of 15, or...
I think there has to be a limit. Like, I haven't played around with, what if I literally only did 1 trick?
Right.
But that is definitely something
it's sort of in that sort of ballpark. That is
It's sort of like
really strange.
from first glance. If you do like a Cork 900 indie and then 3 more indies, it'll rate all of your tricks out of 15. But if you do a Cork 900 indie and 5 other just indies, then it'll rank all of your tricks out of like 8.
Out of 8,
So,
wow.
Yeah. So,
And
if
like
you
that
got
doesn't, even if
100%
you
of your
do,
possible
even
points
if
for
all
your-
of your tricks are completely different,
I'm pretty sure.
that's so interesting.
And so one other thing, in terms of major things that, even though the game has a 25-minute tutorial, it doesn't accurately display it right. We're going to talk about tweaking grabs here. In the tutorial, the game talks about tweaking by, like, you hit a trigger for your hand and then a direction on the right stick, and while you're holding both, then move the right stick in a different way, to do that. But you can also tweak by, holding both of those and then kind of half letting up on the trigger that you're holding. Kind of like in the Amped series, where you'll see your guy, like, stretch his arm out. And that is actually the better way to tweak for more points. In fact, you can actually do both. You could be holding a grab and then, like, half release the trigger and also move the right stick to be, rotate a certain way, and that'll be the best way to tweak. And you will want to use this. Like, I'm so glad Turo remembered this and pointed it out to me on my first playthrough, because, like, that is going to be the way you win some of these events where it needs you to do, like, one single really high point trick.
Yep. The game never explains this. There is a challenge later in the game. I thought it happened in, like, tier 2 or tier 3. I think it appears in tier 4, actually. But it's a big air competition where it's just one jump, and the game asks you to do a straight grab worth 25 out of 100. Worth 25 out of 100 points. And it is not possible if you don't know that you're supposed to tweak with the triggers as opposed to the stick. Like, you're not, like, part of the point of it being a straight grab is that you can't spin at all in any axis. It's just a grab that gives you 25 out of 100 points. And if you just, like, even just tweaking with the right stick, you'll never get more than, like, 16. If you do, like, the coolest double-handed grab, tweak it out as much as possible with just the right stick, it'll give you, like, 18 out of 100 points.
That is so weird.
Yeah, so the voice tutorial only teaches you the weakest way of tweaking, and when there's actually 2, increasing tiers of better tweaks. Also, this isn't, like, a complaint about the game, but there's a whole thing where you can, butter on the ground on the nose or tail of your board with the left stick, and I don't know what the purpose of that is, because it doesn't get you any points. It's not supposed to be used as, like, a combo chain or, like, in other games. I guess you can technically get even different sort of rotations by, like, buttering and then rotating your guy around while you jump and do a trick there, but honestly, those make it even harder to know what the hell you're gonna do. So, aside from, like, oh, we put this in the game so that you can kind of emulate what someone does in real life, you know, I don't know why they put it in, but again, in real life, people are rating your trick based on how cool it looks, not a literal AI, you know.
Yeah, not a computer that's just...
Not an algorithm that is calculating a sum.
Yeah. I mean,
and also,
that's really interesting.
Once again, it's just, I think that's overall the thing of this game. There's so much in here that makes things where what you do would appeal to other people, but the way you get through the circuit mode is doing what, you know, the game, I don't want to say game AI, but doing what the inbuilt requirements are that the code is going to review and look at for points. You know?
I think just overall, remember like almost 10 years ago at this point, when you were doing your first Amped 1 playthrough, and your main complaint about the game was that when you were going off a jump, you would never know how many points you would be coming back down with. Yeah. That is this game taken to an 11. Yeah. Like, you will never know, like, as soon as you are in the air, it's completely different. It's...
Yeah, I mean,
that's really weird.
There is things where, like, obviously, if you get a huge amount of air, and you're doing some real fast, you know, off-axis stuff, you can, you know, release your grab, release all your inputs way in advance to, you know, kind of slow that final flip and get a little closer to having the game, you know, give you a good landing or whatever. But it sucks just spending multiple seconds just doing nothing. Like, as a player, you want to interact with the game. You want to do stuff, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a fan of snowboarding, you've probably watched the X Games, and like you see in those big air events where they're doing like quadruple cork 1800s.
Yeah,
they're using every second of airtime to spin. They're not slowing down. They are slowing down at the last possible second.
Yeah, like in extreme sports games, you want to be doing something over the entire jump. You know, either watching something play out or controlling something for a good amount of the time.
Yeah.
And, you know, so
otherwise it doesn't even feel like you're playing the game.
Yeah. So, kind of what you see is that I've sort of gravitated now towards, like, not trying to do a ton of off-axis stuff and really just, like, spinning. Because if you just spin, that's a lot easier to give yourself a good landing. And then, with all the different tweaking, you can actually start to rack up some serious points.
Yeah. And I did want to say really quickly on the tweaking, I said this basically in the first part of this video, but one of the main reasons why I was suggesting and wanting Connor to do this for a series is because, again, that part of the tweaking mechanic is not explained in-game. I only found it out by going through the Steam community section of this game, where a dev told someone that.
Dev told them? Wow.
Yes. One of the devs told someone, because that was one of the few questions that I had about a specific challenge that someone had thought to ask about before. And a dev was like, hey, not only can you tweak using the right stick, but you can also tweak using the triggers. And that was part of like one of 4 tips he gave to scoring higher. And it was like tip number 2, and it's like, you just doubled my point output.
Right. And like, I mean, it was typed out on the final page of the, you know, trick tips.
Is it really? Oh my god.
That's why I went. That's why I went all the way over and showed what the game types out about tweaking there. But it's the same thing as, like, I just finished, you know, Shaun White's skateboarding, and again, typed out in that overall in-game menu stuff, but not actually told to the player directly, were several things that alleviated parts of that game. Like, oh, it's really hard to slow down if you only like hold back on the left stick. Turns out you can power slide and slow yourself immediately by doing this thing that we don't say out loud. So it's like, oh my god, that's happening again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, that was a Ubisoft game.
You said you don't want to, obviously everybody's got their own subjective experience of the game, and you don't want to be like, oh, it's objectively bad or whatever. And like, we're not saying the game is objectively bad, obviously, but we can say some objective things about the game. In theory, with good marketing and with a good game, you put out a game, and even if it doesn't initially sell well, the person playing the game will tell their friends and they will buy the game as well, right? Like, I've recommended several games to friends who then buy the game, especially a multiplayer game. Like, I'm playing it and I go, dude, I'm having so much fun. I want to share with you these courses that I made and these cool tricks that I recorded and all that shit, right? Like, that would be the cool stuff you could do. This game sold less than 9,000 units. I just looked it up. Less than 9,000 units.
That's fucked up.
That's horrible, right? So, like, if you want to say whether or not the game is bad, I don't know whether it's a bad game because it's a piece of art, but we can definitely say it was unsuccessful at accomplishing the goal of creating a community of multiplayer people who can create content and enjoy the game. It did not do that. It is objectively bad in that way.
I didn't want to say it, but yeah, this game got buried.
Yeah. And I mean, they picked the wrong time, the wrong genre. I mean, now, these days, this game might have done something. But they put it out at the wrong time, to the wrong audience, with the wrong... I don't know. It's really unfortunate, because it seems like these people know how to make a game.
Yeah, and it's like, sometimes you're the first person to shake up the formula and you knock it out of the park, like, again, the Skate series. And sometimes you're the first person to shake up the formula and all you do is have set the groundwork for later
someone else
things
to
be
do
more
better.
Successful.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I hope the studio did end up doing other stuff. Let me look it up. Anyway.
So yeah, that was part 2. Next time we'll move on to tier 3. See you then.